Hi and welcome everyone. I am Friar Tuck. This is my epoch, and on here I talk about homeless education and homeless awareness. And you may be asking yourself the question, well, why are there so many homeless in the U.S. or in the United States? And it's a very complex question. And the more we get into this homeless crisis, the greater it grows, the larger it expands. The more complex it gets, because if you want the short answer is when Saudi Arabia decided that they no longer wanted to peg oil to the dollar, which is the petrodollar. That was the last thing that America had to export. The only thing that kept our economic power, and the only thing that kept us going as a nation after we shipped everything overseas and yada yada yada, is the petrodollar. And now that the petrodollar is done, that means that nobody wants to have the American dollar anymore. If you've noticed that BRICS almost doubled in size in its last expansion, it is taking over at least half the world now, as far as applications, including Saudi Arabia and Mexico, have applied to be in BRICS. China and Russia are pretty much the head of all of that, and that is a changing of the guard, not only diplomatically or politically, like what we're seeing with Ukraine and the Middle East, but we're also seeing that happen economically through BRICS. And as our dollar collapses, that means we exported the dollar. So every time somebody would buy an American good, they would go out there and they would have to buy dollars, and then they would have to trade it in dollars. Or if one country wanted to buy something from another country, they had to go buy dollars and then get it. But what happens when you have all those dollars out there in the system and then nobody wants it anymore? Well, they all come back home, and you're seeing like the bond market having issues. You're seeing other indices having issues, and things like that. And so the real question is, are you not why are there so many homeless in America, in the United States, but are you going to be one of the ones that are going to be affected? Because just think of it this way: what is the cost of living right now for the average individual? If you want to be able to save money, buy a house, buy a car, live the American lie, you need at least $100,000 to $150,000 a year as a single individual. So that means that as a family, you would need to make $250,000 a year. How many jobs are out there that make that much money? So that's just to be able to save. Now let's just say be able to get by. To be able to get by, you need at least $75,000 a year. So that means either two people scrimping by living in the ghetto at $75,000 a year, or one person at $75,000 a year, and hopefully his partner has $75,000 a year, and therefore they have a comfortable living. How many college educated jobs offer $75,000 a year out the door? How many non-skilled labor jobs offer $75,000 a year out the door? How many of these jobs do that? Not very many. The only people that have like unskilled labor and stuff like that, where they could actually make $75,000 a year or more, are those that are self-employed, those that want to go out there and make their own money for themselves, versus relying on somebody else who's giving them pennies on the dollar, compared to what they're getting. And you have a choice. You can either rely on somebody else to put food on your table by going and begging for a job, or you can create your own work and put your own food on the table. It's your choice. But I think that as we're seeing this economic transition, it's going to cause a global economic collapse across, at bare minimum, the West. But because we are a globalized society, and globalization has been what we've been under since the 1990s, if one nation goes under, if Russia goes under, the whole thing goes under. If China goes under, the whole thing goes under. If Germany goes under, the whole thing goes under. And so we're so intertwined that if in some other part of the country they mismanage their funds and the way that they do it, it takes everybody else down with them. That is one of the side effects of globalism. And so now what we're really getting to see is what globalism and what its positive and its negatives. Globalism was supposed to be able to bring us to a point where we had no more wars. It was the next best thing to having a single or a one world government. But it in itself, because it was poorly managed, and you had bad people at the helm has come to a point where now it is toxic to us as a civilization, as a globe, because that intertwinedness means that if one country falls, we all fall. Okay, so as the United States and the petrodollar goes away, as globalism rears its ugly head and its negative consequences do, we're going to see an increase in homelessness here in the United States. Okay, and we're going to see it abroad as well. It's not just happening here. Okay, I see it in the comments quite frequently that the United States is not the only one being hit. That other countries, especially in the UK and Germany and other places, are really seeing a huge uptick in homelessness when homelessness was thought to be on the downslide. Well, you know what? When economics are good, homelessness goes down. When economics are bad, homelessness goes up. And when economics is extremely, extremely, extremely bad, well, then homelessness may reach a point of 30%. That has been my prediction for the last 2 years, and I hope it doesn't come true, but I really think that based upon, you know, numbers, based upon what it's needed to survive, on top of the pay that you're going to get from jobs, on top of the automation of the workforce, on top of all these different things, that 90 million homeless is just a drop in the bucket, because the bottom 30% of society is not going to be able to survive this, because the workforce, that we need a smaller workforce, we need a more intelligent workforce, we need a workforce that can manage, maintain, design, and build you know, technology, whether it be things dealing in advanced robotics and computers, or whether it be artificial intelligence. You have all these different things that are coming about. So not only do you have a decoupling of the dollar from the global economic reserve currency, but now you also have a transition in the workforce, and between both of those are becoming cataclysmic to the general population, especially those that are poor, those that are unskilled, those that are uneducated, and even those that are educated and skilled still are going to be affected, but they will have a better chance than somebody who is unskilled, uneducated, and really has nothing to bring other than to maybe flip burgers at McDonald's or mow a lawn, which those jobs are still going to be needed, but you know, they're importing foreign-born workers for stuff like that. So we don't really need Americans to do that. What we need Americans to do is to educate themselves and to become the managers and maintainers. And therefore we create a class system just like they did in Rome, where you have your citizens and you have your non-citizens. And you know, if we're going to create a Roman Empire, a Roman economic system, a Roman caste system here in America, because that's essentially with all these undocumented or all these border jumpers coming across, this is really what is indirectly being created. Is just like in Rome, where they had citizens and non-citizens, and if you weren't a citizen, you didn't have any rights. Well, you know, we could talk all day long about rights and stuff like that, but you know, it's just, if you are going to be one of the ones that survives, you're going to have to be able to learn these skills. But does that mean that you're going to be able to make enough money? And how much struggling are you going to have to do while you go through the process? Because you may be making $35,000 a year working a low-skilled job while you go to college, and you're still living in your car instead of being able to live in a dorm, unless you want like $100,000-$200,000 in debt once you get out. And then again, is that job that you're going in debt for all that education, is it going to pay you enough to live, or are you just gonna, you know, come out making less than you need to be able to survive, and now you've got a piece of paper and a car to live in? Okay, that is what our future looks like, because of not only how the workforce is being shaken up, but also how the global economy and global politics is starting to be jumbled up as well. So you guys know how to help this channel. I'm working on fundraising for a van. That's my GoFundMe. Otherwise, if you want to do crowdfunding, I do memberships, whether it be through Patreon or through YouTube, get the early access. Everything else is down in the description. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.